The Social Revolution of Dialogue, a Mexican-American Perspective. And I just talked to Professor Camacho this morning about it. Essentially, the old social contract that we have in this country is that 95% of the time it's superficial conversation. And the new social contract that I'm advocating is that we want to have it 50-50. 50% of the time superficial, 50% of the time deep. The old social contract, there was a lock-in. Once you got going on a superficial conversation, it's almost impossible to get out of it. The new social contract, that's suspended. You can go superficial, deep, superficial again. In the old social contract, only certain subjects were socially appropriate. In the new social contract, everything's socially appropriate, as long as the conversation proceeds with a respectfully real means of communication, that is with kindness, wisdom, and respect of boundaries. Now, most people aren't even aware there is an old social contract. It's been in our society. And one theory I've had about it in a book that I wrote called The History and Morality of Nations, The Emergence of the New Social Contract, is that it's a plunderer's contract. And this is a theory now of history that I have, that when one people dominates another, conquers, they will then set up their own rules and laws and regulations and prosecute people for violating those rules and regulations, even though they're the plunderers, and install a social contract which would say it's inappropriate for you to even talk about it. Because if you're keeping everything on a superficial basis, no one says, well, you just plundered this, you just did this, you raped, you pillaged. No one can even say anything about anything. So if you look at a plunderer's viewpoint, that would be an excellent social contract to have, even if there was legal recourse to speak of these things. There's a tremendous social pressure not to. It would be very inappropriate in our society. Say, well, what do you think about life? What do you think of death? As soon as you meet somebody, as opposed to people taking a long time to really coming around to talking about what's happening. I was myself very alienated growing up of Jewish heritage. I was very alienated. I didn't feel like I was an American until I was 50. Then I claimed this as my nation, and I love America. I love the whole noble spirit of America. But I felt alienated because I grew up talking deeply with my cousins, and we'd be talking and disagreeing, and then coming to some conclusions together, even from a point of differences to points of agreement. And then I found that this was not appropriate. Most of what's going on was, I couldn't relate to it. You know, some people talk about their hairdos, what they did to their cars. Very descriptive conversations. I did this and the other thing. And also part of that new social contract is if it's a social situation, they go da 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 da, ha 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 ha. So there's usually a laughter about every 30 seconds. It goes da 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 da, ha 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 ha. And I typically wouldn't find it funny. And also there's a type of, with that social contract, there's also an agreement to smile a certain amount. So there's what I call showing of teeth. And I used to see people smiling. I couldn't relate to the smile going on. So it's all part of that social contract. There's certain rounds of laughter. And I love to laugh. I love humor. But I couldn't relate to it. Then in my 60s, over time, I came to understand there's a contract here. It's an unspoken contract. And then I began to wonder, well, what about other people who come in, who were in our culture? If you look at the great Mexican people, the great contributions of the Mexican-American people in terms of politically, in terms of professionally, in terms of the arts, medicine, politics, tremendous values on family values that are brought here, the hard work, a culture of people coming here, making these enormous contributions while maintaining an attitude of humility and servitude. It's been an amazing journey for the Mexican-American people, but I think seeing the level of conversations and perhaps wanting to assimilate and participate in that and be accepted, I'd like to hear your perspective on how people of a Mexican-American background respond to the old social contract and how open you feel it would be with the new social contract.
Thank you for inviting me.
You're welcome.
Very deep topics. I think part of the point that you bring up, especially you mentioned the idea of plunder, is probably the starting point to the particular conversation, because we drive down Whittier Boulevard, right past the freeway, there's the old historical monument to Pio Pico, the last Mexican governor.